one, and that is SIFU. So, Gem, I can understand if you want to mute or deafen, but the Pac-Man one is coming up around the corner. Sifu covers a singular boss in the actual game itself. So that is a real boss, Sean, that you do encounter in the game. It is a interesting concept in which you, the viewer, are asked, what is morally right, revenge, what is worth your time, and the currency of time. So I thought there was a lot to walk away and think about here. It follows a boy who turns into an old man throughout the episode in attempts to take revenge because each time he dies, he has to be re-brought back. And he gets older and he learns more. So there's a scene where he slips on blood and dies. He then reviews the next 8 years training and figuring it out. So when he comes back and he doesn't slip on the blood, he then knows. So it's that kind of loop. But I'm gonna go on the panel here. Maker, did you want to give any sort of
Uh,
synopsis here? I know this one wasn't maybe your favorite one on the list here, but maybe go into why you thought that it didn't bring seafood to the main stage here, or what it lacked.
like, um, I felt like it didn't really it lacked a lot of suspense because I felt like they never really fought. They like even I would say the main bad guy that he's like chasing after, or the second main bad guy. You never really see him fight that bad guy. It's just implied that he beat him and that he's on the next guy type deal. Um, and that to me, like it's like if you want to build up to something, and there was never really that something to build up to, and so it was too short in my opinion. I would have loved to have seen like the fight, the club fight in the game is just so cool, um, because like the visual representation of everything, and it just within I think like it was only like a minute, and then they're out of the club and they're on the sky bridge. So like yeah, it lacked that atmosphere that I feel like the game truly nails.
I mean, the club is literally called the club. I mean, there's not very much substance to this one. It was a visual eyepiece if you like that kung fu beat 'em up action. I mean, half of the episode, if not more, took place over a sky bridge where he just hand to hand combat a bunch of people. I'll have to say that in the land of hand to hand combat, if anyone had a gun, this would be over. Um,
Shoot the glass out from underneath them.
Yep.
yeah. But you have to, I think, take the parts where they did well. They tried to translate the fact that this was a martial arts choreography eye feast. I think that you
Yeah.
saw a lot of awesome moves play out, and you kind of wanted to go into Sifu afterwards to experience it. Um, there was very little on the character development, I will admit. It was a very short story, but I think they just wanted to translate that one message. Is revenge worth the time it takes? And SPG, I wanted to ask you: is revenge worth the time it takes?
It is to this guy. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was cool. They focused on a young martial artist seeking revenge. I also thought that they kind of captured the game aesthetic and the brutal action. But what I thought was the most interesting thing is that they captured the game's roguelike mechanic with his aging. And like every time he failed and he had to learn a very powerful lesson, he came back an elder, more wiser man because, well, he's dying a bit or whatever. However, it's tied, to those rings that were breaking. It just, I think the roguelike mechanic and his age, I think that was a really nice touch.
In regards to the age thing, the one thing that kind of bugs me, so like uh in the game, like the roguelike elements is yeah, you'll die and gain ages, but at a certain point you will die and you go back to your main base where And I feel like it's missing that main base where he's like strategizing on like all the different bad guys and taking each of them out. I think that would have been a cool scene to have of like just that board like tying them all together.
Yeah. And I think they did the best they could with what little time they had. I believe he dropped into this red zone where he was kind of training, and I guess that was their visualization of it. But for sure, they could have done so much more with the characters here. But 8, 9 minutes is so hard to tell a story. Nads,
I think
did
it
you?
was like 5. Like
This one was
it's really
5. Yeah.
short.
Yeah.
I can actually double check while you
The
guys
runtime.
talk about
Nads,
Yeah,
did you watch the Sifu episode?
yes, I did watch the SIFU episode. I didn't play the game, but I know about the game. I knew about the game before watching this because I saw some gameplay before, and I feel like this episode is basically made to show what kind of game it is and to get you involved in it, if that makes sense. It's just a little story in the middle of the game, and it just giving you that, so like it make you interested to play the game, because it made me interested about it, because I've there's other games in similar genre of mechanic where like when you die you get like revive, but you something else happen. In this case, you get older, and you can only revive so many time, right? So, I found it quite interesting, and then like it made me want to look more into the game, right? So that's
Well,
my take on that.
Well, in the end, I definitely think that he should have not gone for revenge, and that lady knew where it was at. Just spend the time living, make something really nice to eat. Food's where it's at. Those
Yeah.
dumplings look delicious.
it.
Uh,
I looked it up. It's about a 6.5 minute episode.
six and a
Mhm.
half minutes. Crazy the stories they tell in 6.5 minutes. Well,
Mhm.
let's jump on to the next one.